Ellie-Jean Royden's new book, How to Dress Your Best, arrived in my post yesterday. And I spent the entire day reading through it, doing the exercises, so I can give you a full-fledged review of what to expect and whether the tools and exercises inside it work. And so if you're someone that is interested in style and fashion and how to look your best, keep on watching for my unfiltered thoughts on whether this book is worth your time and money. I've been a fan of Ellie for about 2 years now. I don't remember exactly which video I came across, but it was probably something around the style roots. And the whole system and how she sewed things was very practical, very logical. And I really like that because it fits with how I look into style as well. And so when she announced earlier in the year that she wrote a book, I pre-ordered it. And I was so excited to receive it in the mail yesterday. And in the introduction, Ellie actually talks about why she wrote this book. And it's primarily because the advice of just wear what you like isn't actually easily applicable to most people. Because you either wear what you like, but something just feels off, or you have about 500 different styles in your wardrobe, which isn't helpful, or you don't actually know what you like. And so, again, it can become very hard to dress yourself and look your best. And so what Ellie wanted to do with this book is to actually give you a different set of tools that you can use on a day-to-day basis to create outfits that you feel really good in and you also look really good in. And that is why she divided the book into 3 different sections. So part 1 in here is all about what you like to wear. And this is where the style roots actually come into play. So we're starting with your style preferences, your personality, and how you express all of that in your clothes. Then the second part actually has 2 different tools, and it's all about what looks good on you. So the first tool here is the body matrix, which is the system that Ellie created herself, which is about body lines and whether you're tall or short, whether you're wide or narrow, or whether you are round or straight. And the second tool in this part is color analysis, finding your color season from the 12 most common color seasons. So when you find both what you like and what looks good on you in terms of lines and colors, we go into part 3, which is how to put it all together. And that part is really useful. It's kind of very short mini chapters talking about how to identify what clothes you need, how to get rid of clothes sustainably, how to create your signature style. There is a lot in there in part 3, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. So because I didn't want to just give you a book review, I wanted to share with you if the tools actually worked for me. I did all of the exercises here on my phone. I took a lot of notes of what I found very easy to understand, what was a little bit confusing, and I wanted to share all of that with you. So let's dive into it. So let's start with part 1, which is all about the style roots and what you like to wear. Now, this was one thing where I've watched all of her videos and I was pretty sure that I had the mountain style route, but the other 2, I actually wasn't sure which one I was in. So I had tried moon and mushroom, and these were the style routes that I thought I had. I was also considering things like sun because I do enjoy patterns and contrast and sort of bold looks, but I just couldn't decide which one I am. And so what Ellie talks about in the book that really helped me is that you may like someone's aesthetics or someone's looks, but you're drawn to maybe their confidence or how they put things together and not necessarily the specific items. And it really helped me to understand that maybe for some of those outfits, I actually like the look of it, maybe the idea of it, but I don't necessarily like the specific items or elements, and I don't want to bring them in my own wardrobe. Basically, inside the book, what you're going to find is a description of the style route, which is a little bit more general, and a couple of example looks that Ellie thinks really represent that. You also have inside it a lot of words that you can use to refer to the style route. Then she talks about personality and what kind of person typically is drawn to that aesthetic, to that style route. And then she talks about the different elements. I found this so helpful because Ellie talks about a few things. Number 1 is that you don't need to be drawn to every single element of a style route. And that was a bit of a block for me because, let's say with sun, I was drawn to certain parts of it, but definitely not all of it. And with other style routes, I was drawn to maybe one or two things, but everything else was actually a no. And so that helped me to understand that I need to find which ones represent me most. None of those routes would be perfect for me because I'm not one dimensional. So Ellie actually suggests 3 different ways for you to find your style route. And so I did all of that. The first way was just reading the descriptions and finding which ones I identified with. And for me, it was definitely mountain and sun. And I also resonated a lot with some of the fire elements as well, which was very surprising for me because the way that I saw it from her videos previously is that that was a very feminine and sensual sort of aesthetic. And I just didn't feel like I'm that kind of person. But then reading the description, it was all about emotional depth and passion and caring in certain ways. And I was like, that actually sounds a lot more like me. And so I was a bit more open to reading about the elements, and I realized that this might not be my core aesthetic, but maybe there is something into that. Another really helpful visual was where Ellie talked about how you can actually combine the style routes, and that if you combine two, you create an aesthetic. And so let's say the combination of mountain and sun, one of them that I really liked is street style. But street style is not my overall aesthetic. There are certain things that maybe are missing from it. And so she talks about how by combining 3 different style routes, you actually create your own unique style. The second exercise that Ellie recommends, if you're not necessarily sure which style routes are yours, is to actually create a list of words and trying to put them into 3 different lists. So you start by talking about your dream self, so how you behave and how you dress. You also talk about your personality, your current wardrobe, and your mood board. And so by talking about all of those words and combining them all together, I ended up with about 25 to 30 different words. So what Ellie recommends is actually trying and find common threads and then trying to organize those words into 3 different columns. And so for me, finding 4 threads was quite easy. And so I had a thread that was very clearly about being polished and put together and strong, all of that, which I knew because I was pretty certain that mountain is one of my roots. Then I had a mini thread that was about comfortable, supportive, and kind, because that's how I want to be perceived by other people and how people have described me. Then there was kind of this unexpected part that was about luxurious, feminine, fitted, suede, leather, silk in terms of fabrics, soft, flattering, sexy, mini skirts. So all of that I found fitted quite nicely within the fire style route, which definitely surprised me. And then the final bit was about being unexpected and fun and vibrant and contrasting, which was the sun style route. Again, makes sense. And so for me, that little thread of being very comforting and supportive and kind, I thought that that would be my mushroom route. But then I didn't have any of the other like understated and neutral, then paired back words that are related to mushroom. And so what I realized is that for me, the element of professionalism and kind of strength and confidence that comes from mountain as a style route, that also incorporates being supportive and kind. Yes, I'm going to listen to someone, that's part of my role at work, but I would rather them feel confident and motivated to actually go and get what they want rather than just sitting and comforting and hugging them and that's it, right? Which are, I would imagine, like someone that's more mushroom would be that more empathetic person and more calming. For someone that's more mountain would be more, yes, you can do this. It's not the end of the world. We're going to do this together. Let me support. Let me show you how to do it. And so I realized that some of the words that I had thought were mushroomy were actually in the mountain aesthetic. And that helped me a lot because it helped me to show also my personal values. And then if you're still not sure, there is also a quiz. And that's the part where I was a little bit uncertain because there are 13 different questions and you're asked to circle the answers that most relate to you. And I just wasn't sure, am I supposed to circle one answer for each question? Or am I supposed to circle more than one answer if they all resonate with me? Because for a lot of the questions, I had between 2 and 4 different answers that I could resonate with. And so I did it first by circling just one answer, and then the mountain style route came across. Sun came as well, but then flower also came up a little bit in certain ways. And so when I did it by circling all of the letters that applied to me, that is when mountain, fire, and sun actually came all together way stronger than any of the other style routes. this chapter really, really helped me. I think I've never felt more clear in what I like to wear, what I'm drawn to, but also why I am drawn to that aesthetic. Which parts of me, which values, which personality traits of me does that item or style represent? And so even if it was just this, I think the book is worth it for me. So part 2 is all about what looks good on your body. And I really like the beginning of this chapter where Ellie talks about that it can be seen almost as anti-feminist or inappropriate to talk about women's bodies. But at the same time, rather than just putting whatever and hoping you feel good, it is actually really helpful to know what your body looks like in a very neutral way, and then find items that fit your body and kind of echo the lines that you have. And in that way, highlighting maybe your best features on things that you really like about yourself. She talks about like just being narrow doesn't mean you're skinny, and being wide doesn't mean you're fat, and things like that. She really makes this very clear, which I really appreciated, because she talks about how certain words like round or wide may be perceived in a really negative way, but it doesn't mean like there are really slim people that just have wide shoulders. So it doesn't really mean anything about weight or how you look. It's just words. So inside the book, you're going to find quite a lot of information about how she created that system. And then she talks about the differences between short and long, for example. And she talks about what are the different elements that you can look for in different items. I fully understand the rationale behind the system, and I think it's a brilliant system that works really well. The problem I had is that I took a photo exactly as it was suggested, which was basically chest level straight camera and full body. I was wearing my leggings, so you can see on the screen. And I took this photo, right? And then I sent it to a few people and asked them, how tall do I look in this? What do you think my height is? And like, those are people that didn't know me. I also sent it to one of my friends. And they all said, oh, like you actually look longer than your height. So that was very surprising to me. Now, I had a friend also tell me that, but actually in a lot of other photos, you look shorter than you are. And so that got me really confused. Like, where is the truth? And the other thing that confused me more about my height was I'm bang on in the middle. I'm 5'4", 164. So I fit within the medium. And at the same time, I've never had anyone come to me in real life and say, oh, Millie, you look so much shorter or so much taller than I thought you would be. I've never had those comments. And so in my head, I was medium. But then 3 different people told me I actually look longer in that photo. And so I'm not necessarily sure which one I am. And similarly, with narrowness and width, I followed Ellie's explanation both from the book and her video, and I do have narrow shoulders, right? Like the point of my armpits is pretty much straight vertical to where my actual bones end, and the rest is sort of curves, but that's flesh, that's not actually bones. And so I realized I have narrow shoulders, but that doesn't actually mean that I'm narrow. But I just couldn't understand fully, am I narrow or am I medium? How do I know that? What does it mean to have narrow chest or narrow hips? And I think the part that was really missing in here for me is Ellie actually taking 10 different women or 5 different women that maybe submitted an image to her and showing us exactly how she takes a photo, how she draws the outline, and what are the specific things that she looks for to categorize someone into, let's say, narrow or wide. What does it mean to have narrow hips? Or what does it mean to have straight hips versus round hips, right? It wasn't easy, and you would think that those words would be really easy, but they just weren't. And so for me, I came up with, I have narrow shoulders, but everything else is pretty medium. Like I don't look particularly narrow or wide, so medium. And then height-wise, I also think I'm medium. I don't particularly find myself looking amazing in super long items or very short items as well. I don't think I love them, but I don't think they look super flattering on me. And then about curve, again, I wasn't sure because all 3 people said, well, you're curvy, but you're not very curvy. So medium round, I don't know. And so I'm either medium, or medium, round, or do I have anything else? I was really confused. I still am really confused. So I'm going to leave you to you. If you have any suggestions or recommendations in the comments, please leave them down below. But for me, I didn't feel like I got clarity on what I actually am. And because Ellie talks about it, like try to lean one side or the other, try not to use medium because no one is really that medium. I'm not very sure how much of those recommendations I can actually take. And so that's kind of where I was a little bit confused, and I kind of wanted a bit more examples and explanation that would allow me to take my own body drawing and know what to actually look for in there. So this was the part where I just was a little bit not disappointed, but just I'm still confused. And I think that I'll have to try a lot of different clothes and take a lot of different photos and maybe ask 3, 5 different people to tell me which one of those do you think looks best on me, because I think I've seen myself so many times I just can't be objective anymore. And then the second part in part 2 is all about color analysis. Now, in here, I'll be very transparent that I feel like I am cheating a little bit because I have had my color analysis done about a year ago. So I knew what color type I am. But at the same time, I was like, actually, that's really useful because let me test whether what she's put in the book will give me the same result. And so what Ellie asks you to do is to describe the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, and your lips. And she provides a list of about 20 to 30 different words for each of those elements. Now, I have to be honest, I had to Google a lot of colors because I wasn't sure in my head what the specific color would actually look like. And maybe something that could be improved is having little swatches with the names rather than just names, because I think people can interpret things differently. That was one thing. And then the second thing was asking kind of to describe, is this color cool, slightly cool, neutral, or warm? Is it light or dark? Is it bright? I think that was quite easy. But again, if you're brand new to colors, you may struggle to describe whether something is bright or not, whether something is cool or not. But she does explain those qualities before starting color analysis. So I think that part was all right. So I did the exercise and I described my eyes, hair, skin color, and lip color in those ways. And then she asks you basically to combine all of those things, kind of count how many times you have certain things. And so the result that I had was that I have mostly cool features, even though my eyes are more hazel warm color, that I have mostly dark features, and also that I have slightly bright. So it wasn't super bright, but it wasn't also neutral or kind of more muted. And so she asks you then to order them on the basis of which one is the strongest. And so for me, the coolness was the most defined, with the other two being sort of, yes, we're there, but we're not super strongly there. And so when you open on the 12 color seasons, the cool, medium bright, medium dark is true winter, or cool winter is called in other style systems. And this is exactly what I was identified as by another color analyst, and I'll make a different video about that. But it was good for me to confirm it. Is there a possibility that I was a bit biased because I knew what I was looking for? Perhaps. But I still feel like if you just follow the process and describe certain things, you might find that, okay, your eyes are really cool, but everything else is actually quite warm, or vice versa, like it is for me. And it can usually help you to pinpoint which at least bigger color season you are, even if you can't pinpoint the specifics. But I do think if you follow the process, you'll actually get your actual season. And after that, you have 2 different pages which talk about what your features likely are. So you can double check if that makes sense for you. So now for me, I'm a true winter. And so all of those colors do suit me very well. And she gives a name of about 15, 20 different ones. Now, for me personally, again, I would have much more preferred to have, rather than just names, I would have preferred to have swatches. So I know what I'm looking for, because even Googling things like cranberry gave me 5 different colors, or magenta or fuchsia, there is variations of that. But still, I think this is a good starting point to know, okay, there is 10 to 15 different colors that are going to look good on you, and you can iterate on that. So overall, I think Style Roots, very good. Body Matrix, kind of confusing, and color analysis, I would say helpful. I'm not the best person to judge, but I did get the same outcome as I get from a professional color analysis that I paid for. So I think it was good. And now coming to part 3, this is the part that can seem a little bit disjointed because there is about 10, 15 different things in here. So you can see kind of there's a whole page of like different things that Ellie talks about. So in here, she talks about her closet editing system, which has the 3 different rings. I know she's made a video about it, but it's basically finding your perfect pieces that suit your style roots, your body lines, and your colors. And you may end up with only a few of those pieces. Then the middle ring, which is pieces that are almost there, but they're not perfect. And then the very hyper practical pieces that you might need to just store away and not be in your own kind of wardrobe. And then everything else she talks about perhaps is best to get rid of, because if it's something that doesn't flatter your shape, doesn't flatter your color, or isn't really your style, probably it's not a great idea to have it in your wardrobe. She talks a lot about how to get rid of clothes sustainably, how to find unique pieces, how to find pieces that will make an impact in your wardrobe. So there's a lot of information that you can take and apply. Now, of course, I haven't done every single thing in that part 3. I've done some of those things previously, so I know that those are really good tips. And so if you're someone that is just starting your own journey right now with your style and discovering, I think this is a very gentle guide that covers a lot, but you don't have to take it all at once. And finally, there is kind of the how do we create an outfit, like the last bit, where Ellie talks about that you don't have to try to fit every single thing into an item or into an outfit. And it's okay that on some days you may only honor 2 of your style roots, or that some days you may not necessarily wear all your best colors. You may have an item that isn't perfect. But it's all about being sustainable, so not throwing everything away and buying an entirely new closet. It's also about learning how to maybe correct pieces as we go along. And so you may have a pair of shoes that you wear right now, but you're aware why they may not necessarily be the best. And so you're looking out if you can find a better item down the line and replace it with. I found this guidance quite helpful. I think it's great. I think it is very responsible, and it's talking about actually just keep the things you have and use them, but just try to go and do better as you go along. And so I think this is a really, really sound recommendation and a really great book for anyone that, like me, likes to learn about their style, learning about themselves through their style, and likes to create something that just makes them feel good. And so overall, I would say probably 4.5 out of 5 for me. It was a very easy read, very high quality, well written, well explained book. I talked about why I'm not a huge fan of the body matrix in terms of how it was described. And I do hope that Ellie will do some more videos to clarify certain things. Outside of that, I do think it's a great buy. So the book is currently actually on sale, a little bit of a discount if you buy it in a few different places. So definitely think it is a good read, a good buy. And I'm really grateful to Ellie for having written it. And so if you want me to do a specific video about the style roots or the body lines or the colors or anything specific from the book and how I found mine, definitely leave me a comment below and I'll do that for you. But in the meantime, please like this video, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and share it with someone that might need to hear about this book.